So now let's talk about the products that you're gonna sell. Bye, Kiss! Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. If you clicked on this video, you're probably interested in one day starting up your very own plant shop, or you're just another crazy plant person that needs to watch every plant video on YouTube. Whatever your reasons are, thank you for being here. And since you're already here, might as well hit that like button. So in today's video, I'm gonna share with you guys how to go about starting your very own plant shop. What are the items you're gonna need to really get something off the ground, at least at a minimum level? What are some of the costs associated with it? And pretty much share with you guys my experience when it came to opening up my plant shop. So as you guys know, we opened up the Crazy Plant Shop back in August of 2021, and that is where we're filming today. And I've had a few of you guys send me some DMs or emails asking for advice or tips on how to go about starting your very own plant shop. Because like you guys have a dream of one day working for yourself and being surrounded by your passion or your love, which is obviously plants. What else could it be? I'm just kidding. So I'm gonna try and cover at a very high level all your startup items and costs, specifically when it comes to running a physical plant shop like you see here, as well as a bit of online presence. And hopefully at the end of this video, you're gonna have a lot more information that you'll find valuable and will help you in your plant journey of starting your very own business. So as far as I can remember, I knew one day I wanted to start my own business. And the one thing you need to do when it comes to starting up your own business is to register as a business. Now, when it comes to registering a business, there are kind of four ways to legally structure your business. One is a sole proprietorship, the other is a general partnership, a limited liability corporation or an LLC, or a corporation. And how you choose to structure your business or how you want to register it will obviously be based on a lot of factors. Everything from where you live, the state, province, your own personal risks that you want to take, really what your goals and visions when it comes to starting your own business. So I'm not going to dive into details on each and every single one of these structures. There are a lot of YouTube resources out there that you can check out. Personally, for me, I registered as a corporation, and that's because back in the day when I knew I wanted to start my own business, even before this plant shop, I registered already as a corporation. So within that corporation, there are a few entities. One is this Crazy Plant Shop. The other one is Crazy Plant Guy as a content creator. And maybe one day I might want to spin up a own marketing consulting agency. Who knows? But that is kind of what I selected based on obviously my own personal goals, my vision, the risks I'm willing to take, and so on. So again, go check out a lot of resources if you're not familiar when it comes to registering as a business and which structure is right for you. So now I'm going to touch a bit on the retail storefront versus having an online shop. There's a lot of pros and cons in having either or having both. When it comes to a retail storefront, the reality is it is going to eat up a lot of your profits because the cost to run and operate a physical storefront is definitely a lot more than running an online presence. Now, if you have the space in your home to house a lot of your products like your plants, your cuttings, by all means, start as an online storefront because it is so much more easier. And then you have an ability to obviously test the market. And then from there, decide if you do want to open up your physical storefront. Now, what I did is I actually started as an online presence only. And the reason being is because I started to import a whole bunch of products already from Thailand and Indonesia. And I needed to obviously, acclimate them, care for them. If you guys remember, my condo was jam-packed with a whole bunch of greenhouses. It was very crowded. And I was still looking for a space for the physical store, and it was taking a bit of time, so I had to kind of move some products along. And I figured, you know what, I'm gonna need a website anyway, so let me just build an online store, get that out of the way. And it kind of gave me an idea on obviously the market and how people are responding to the products and so on and so forth. So if you have the room in your house and you want to start a little plant shop, start online first. Now, when it comes to looking for a physical store or when you're ready to look for a physical store, there's a few things you want to consider. The space, how big of a space do you really need? The location of your store, are you looking for something with high foot traffic or maybe something a little bit more low key? Really, that's going to factor into your pricing and the cost of rent, also depending on the landlord that you deal with. So for me, I knew I wanted a big space that has good lighting. That was kind of number one on my list. I wasn't so keen on the location, partly because I had a strong following of YouTube and Instagram to be able to, market and advertise the physical store when it is ready. So that did help quite a bit. So I wasn't necessarily looking to spend a lot of money on, finding the space at a very, popular area with a lot of foot traffic. But I knew I still wanted a big space. So for me, the cost really associated with this is the square footage. So this is about I think 1,400 square feet with the front here as well as the back. I wanted a back area to be able to prep for plants, have a few greenhouses there that I have plants growing and acclimating. And I also want to make sure that there was like a watering station or bathroom already built in. The one thing I also wanted to do is I wanted to make sure I found a space that I didn't have to do any renos or a lot of work on it. I really just wanted to be able to like move in, put some shelves up, move my products, and and open the doors. And that's pretty much what I found. But because at this point, it really took me a long time to find the space. So to find the space plus do renovation, it just wasn't gonna work for me. It would have took me to winter, and winter is really your slow season when it comes to obviously running a plant shop. Now, so those are kind of my requirements. A good space, still within downtown area. Good lighting, has a watering station, has a back area, and yeah, that's kind of what I went. Now, the rent is a big cost, but not only rent you have to consider is you're gonna need some insurance when it comes to leasing a commercial space. No commercial landlord's gonna offer you a space without any insurance coverage, and you want insurance when you're running a plant shop. Insurance that will cover theft, fire, flood, building structure, customers that may decide to sue you because you gave them a bad plant. I'm just kidding, but whatever it is, you definitely need to have insurance, so make sure you budget for that. And that can range anywhere between like $500 to $2,000 a year. Really depends on how much coverage you want, where you're located. When it comes to rent, again, really depends on the size, location, but I remember looking as low as $2,500 a month to up to $10,000 a month. Really, you want to make sure you're very mindful of how much you're willing to spend on rent, and it's going to come down to your ability to have sales or average sales or revenue. And you kind of need to work the numbers backwards and do a bit of projection to know what your budget is and what your maximum spend is when it comes to your rent. Now, the cost of running a plant shop doesn't stop there. You need hydro, electricity, water. Sometimes these items will be part of your rent cost. Really depends on the agreement you have with your landlord. I unfortunately don't have my electricity, my gas, my internet covered by my rent. Only water is. But those are things you need to consider. You may need to consider garbage services. Really depends if this is going to be part of your agreement or not. And another big startup cost that you're going to incur is you're going to need a lawyer to close your agreement between you and the landlord of leasing the commercial space. It's not like renting an apartment or condo. So make sure you budget for legal fees, and that can range anywhere from like, $1,500 to close your deal up to $6,000, $7,000. Really depends on, who you get and kind of what they charge. You're also going to need like a POS system or point of sale system, a physical, system that will allow you to take payments from customers, whether they can be tap or, inserting their card. You're going to need like an iPad. Really depends on the POS system you choose, but those are kind of like one-time costs. Plus, there's also a monthly fee. Again, really depends on the POS system you use. So those are kind of the items you're gonna need and consider when it comes to running the physical storefront and what you're gonna need as a startup cost. Now let's talk about your products. Your number one product are plants. This is what's gonna drive majority of your sales. You can also add some accessories like watering cans, maybe some potting soil, some pots, maybe add a bit of service to your product mix like repotting and so on and so forth. But the number one question I often get is, where do you go and find your plants? How do you source them? And how do you go about creating that endless supply of plants? So there's a few ways you can go about it. One is obviously cut up your own collection and make cuttings out of it and eventually grow them into plants. That's really cheap and will cost you pretty much nothing because you already have the plants at home. The other way is obviously importing plants. You guys know when it comes to importing plants, it's really cheap. Plus, on top of that, if you import plants at a very mass level or wholesale level, it's really gonna cost really, really cheap as well. Just hold on a second. What's up? Yeah. Somebody was just walking by and was selling plants. So I've always wanted one of these plants that, just to have on display. So I got one of those plants. Wait, I'm just kidding, but if you know, you know. Where was I? Oh yeah, so I think I was talking about importing plants. So yes, when it comes to importing plants, you obviously know it's a lot cheaper, but when you do it at a mass scale or at a wholesale price, you get them really, really cheap. The drawback to obviously importing plants is you need a lot of time to acclimate them, get them ready. So if you value time, maybe importing might not be best for you. And honestly, from my experience, and I'll do a separate video on this, I don't think I'm gonna ever import plants, partly because there's a high loss rate when it comes to importing plants. So I'm pretty sure I lost money on all the plants I imported because I had a really high loss rate. And I couldn't even make it up on the plants that live to be able to sell that off to at least make whatever, you know, I spent on them. But again, so if you want to do import plants, by all means go for it. But again, that's just my experience. The other thing is obviously finding some local wholesale nursery or garden center in your area, state, province, or country. And this was interesting for me because for some reason, the nursery I used to go to buy my own personal plants, I never even knew they had a wholesale section for business and retail shops. So all this time, I was buying them at retail price point and full price when behind the scene, they were growing their plants and I got a tour of it. So look at your local garden center, inquire about it, look on their website, and you'll even find their, you know, wholesale partners, or if you want to create like an account with them. But by all means, go for it. If you are struggling to find it online, sometimes what you can do is go to your local plant store or big box store, look at their tags and see who their supplier are. Most likely some of them get it shipped from someone else and so on. So you really do need to do a bit of research, but they're around, they're in your area. You just need to look for them. So one of the questions I get is, how do you price your plants? That's really gonna be based on obviously the margins you need to make in order to cover your rent, your expenses, your payroll, and you know, obviously, you know, hopefully make a bit of profit for yourself, but also making sure that you price it enough where people are going to respond to it. And that is why it's great to have like an online plant shop first, because you're at least able to test the market on what people are willing to pay when it comes to, you know, plants. So having a lot of plants is obviously going to require a lot of equipment to care and make sure that your plants are thriving. So anything you can think of that will obviously make sure that these plants are going to be healthy. So think about like grow lights. I know I use grow lights here because I have a west facing window. You know, it's great in the summer, but you know, when it is dark and cloudy, especially in the winter, it gets pretty dim here. So I've got to make sure I have grow lights. So you're going to need some potting medium. You know, some plants I got to repot, really depends if I get them from a supplier and I don't like their potting medium that they use. You're going to need some pest control products, you know, whether that's your end-all solution to, you know, consistently spray down your plants, because similar to at home, you want to have a pest control regime to ensure that your plants are going to be healthy, because the last thing you want is to sell a plant to a customer that has pests. I always encourage anyone, if you ever buy a plant from anywhere, you just got to make sure you check and inspect them for pests, because the reality is it's very, very difficult for it to be 100% foolproof, because I know even me getting some plants from my supplier, I often have found some pests in some of them and I have to go through a complete process on making sure I eradicate them and so on. But you do want to make sure you have these products to at least do some pest prevention regime as part of your ongoing care. Now you're also going to need some shelving for your plants. So obviously you guys can see here, I have a lot of shelving. I have also a couple of Millsville greenhouse for a lot more of the, you know, rare or more of the high humidity loving type of plants. You're going to need some, you know, island in the center if you want to display some of your products that you guys see here. Some plant stands they're going to need, maybe some crates, some pots, all of those things. So definitely think of everything that you can think of when it comes to showcasing and caring for all your plants. Other items you're gonna need is grow tent or greenhouse if you do want to start growing your own plants. So definitely make sure you invest in this. I don't have a grow tent, I only have like greenhouses in the back. I'm thinking about getting a grow tent for the basement because eventually I do want to cut up some more plants, but again, it does take a lot of time when it comes to growing your own plants, especially off of cuttings. You're also going to need some cleaning supplies. You know, you want to make sure you keep your store tidy, and you're also going to need like a prep table and a counter and checkout table. So you guys can see here, I have my counter and checkout table there, and then in the back I have my prep table, which is just a stainless steel like kitchen table. This is really handy when it comes to like prepping a lot of the plants, especially the new plants that come in that need to go through our kind of process system to ensure that they are clean, safe, and healthy before they are shelved here at the storefront. You're gonna need some retail shopping bags or some packaging, tissue paper. It really depends on whether you wanna start considering like shipping and delivery, and you need to pack up the plants really well. So those are things you're gonna need. I don't do any shipping nationwide or even out of the city. We do have a delivery partner that I partner up with, and they deliver the plants. That's another disadvantage about having a physical storefront is you don't really have the ability to scale and reach a wider audience. Now, I can do that, but again, that does cost a lot more money. It'll require a lot more of my time or hire another body, another help to kind of do that stuff. On that note, you're also gonna need to spend money on employees or staff. You know, if eventually you wanna get to that level, But I would say if you're starting out, don't hire anyone because the reality is that costs a lot of money, and you want to be there making sure that your shop is running the way you want it, and making sure that you're learning with every experience that you go through, and that way you can constantly improve and know what's going right and know what's going wrong to be able to at least adjust and then make it as successful as you can. Now, other things you want to consider when it comes to running your own business is you're going to need some third-party services. So for example, you might need an accountant that will help you be organized and make sure that you are filing your business taxes, your income tax, corporate tax, whatever structure you choose. Other things you might want to consider, if you're hearing that squeaky noise, it's Ficus playing with himself. But I'm hoping you guys can hear me through this mic. Other things you want to consider is if you want to make it a little bit more personal to your brand or to who you are, maybe adding some merchandise, whether that's t-shirts, hats, maybe making your own, potting soil mix, leaving maybe a leaf a cutting, take a cutting station, something that makes it unique to you, and that way you can kind of separate yourself from the rest of the plant shop that might be out there. So those are the items you need to consider when it comes to running and owning your physical store. The other thing I want to touch on is your marketing. Now, my advice is build a presence already. Even if you don't have a plant shop right now, or one day you're gonna open one up in a couple of years, make sure you're building an online presence, a community, a following, because that will really help reduce a lot of the costs when it comes to marketing and advertising your plant store. And I'm so thankful to be in this position because of all of you and all the people on Instagram who's followed me through the years before opening this plant shop, that I really didn't have to spend any money on marketing. You guys have been with me, a lot of you since day one, since I started my plant journey with my little Monstera Deliciosa, to my String of Hearts and my Pylia, to now owning this plant shop. So start a following today. Go on Instagram, Facebook groups, create a Facebook page, do whatever you can to kind of just build a community. And if you guys want more information on how to go about building a strong Instagram following, or how to go about building a community, comment below, let me know. Maybe we can do a separate video specifically focused on that. But yes, definitely start working on your community. Now, other free advertising you can do is contact your local newspaper or media outlet. And oftentimes when you open up a new storefront in a neighborhood, they're more than willing to feature you guys. So definitely make sure you do that. Seek out free advertising first before you decide to pay for some. And eventually, you're gonna create a presence and a buzz within the community that you're gonna have people coming to your shop. So when I started my shop, really most of my customers were you guys who's followed me for a while. You were the first people to visit the shop. But eventually, I began to get a lot of local people within the neighborhood coming and visiting the shop. Sometimes they don't even know that the shop is here until they walk by the storefront. So most of my customers today are actually from the neighborhood. So it's been great, again, having everyone visit here. But I would suggest to definitely make sure that you build a following, seek out free advertising with your local media outlet or newspaper, and even the local businesses around you. Partner up with them, leave little coupon cards to them. They're more than willing to do that for you because they obviously want the neighborhood you're in to, flourish and grow and so on. So those are some ways you guys can really take advantage of when it comes to free marketing. So those are all the things you really need to consider when it comes to opening a plant shop. Now, do you need every single one of those items checked off first before you can open your doors? Absolutely not. And I actually don't encourage you to go gangbusters and have everything ready and perfect before you open up your plant shop. And in fact, my advice is to take it one step at a time. Like I said, maybe start off as an online store, and then from there, open up your physical store. But maybe you don't need to offer every product that's available. Maybe try and cut your costs down by making sure that you are the only one working at the shop and not hiring people. So those are things you want to consider. And again, just make sure that you're planning really, really well. The other advice I would say is, don't quit your day job and open up a plant shop right away, because a plant shop is not going to make you rich. And yes, it will make you rich in terms of joy and peace and really working for yourself if you really are passionate about that stuff. But it is not going to make you a lot of money that you're going to be able to retire, relax, feed your family, and so on. So I just want to make sure that you guys manage your expectation and just be realistic with really the cost associated with running a plant shop and what your sales volume will be like even during your peak season. The other thing too, I just want you guys to keep in mind is it will take a lot of time and energy to run a plant shop, especially if it's just going to be you running it. So that's one thing I want you guys to be mindful of. If you value your time, if you have other commitments, other projects, you like to socialize a lot, don't even bother starting a plant shop because it's going to take a lot of your time and energy. And then the other advice I would say is try and build up a positive cash flow or savings to start up your plant shop. Don't go in with very, very minimal money or zero money, in fact, or get a loan, because my advice when it comes to starting any business is you want to have a little bit of capital. And if you can get capital that you built yourself, even better. Yes, depending on your business and what you choose to do, you can, get a capital and borrow money, but oftentimes you need to kind of show them proof of your business first before they can lend you some money. But I suggest is just save money, do a lot of side hustles behind the scene while you're working full time. And if you guys want some advice or a video on what are some of the side hustles you can do while working full time to be able to save up money for your business, for your plant shop, whatever the reasons may be, comment below and let me know, and I can definitely share that with you guys. But some of the things I did quickly is I also have a YouTube channel. I did that on the side while working full time at my corporate job. If you guys remember, I tested selling pots on Amazon. So I was an Amazon seller. I experimented with that. I have a coloring publishing book. So those are the ways I was able to drive and generate some revenue and then be able to save that up in order to invest into this plant shop. But I always suggest if you guys can have a positive cash flow when starting your own plant shop, it will really make things a lot easier. It will reduce a lot of financial stress that you may experience. So the ways I go about that is making sure that I knew I would have at least up to 6 months worth of rent, even if I sold nothing when I started my plant shop. So I want to be in that position. Even though I was making sales right out of the gates, I still want to make sure I had that safety net to do just in the event that things happen, another lockdown happens, and so on and so forth. So again, those are some advice I can share with you guys in terms of my experience when it comes to opening up your own plant shop. Hopefully you found this video valuable. Comment below and let me know what you think. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your weekend and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.